In this year's Mother's Day, I'm going to say Happy Mother's Day to the late Mrs. ANNA KHAVERE Lando, my stepmother, who brought me up. In case you're wondering why I did not say Happy Mother's Day to my mother, my biological mother, there are several reasons. One, every year I say Happy Mother's Day to my mother and even her sisters. But this year, I will say Happy Mother's Day to Mrs. ANNA KHAVERE Lando, the lady who brought me up. Another reason is that on the on on the anniversary of my mother's death, I recorded something. On my mother's birthday, I recorded something about my mother. So having 3 days that I'm supposed to dedicate to my biological mother, her birthday, her death day, and then the Mother's Day, I'm sure my mother would not mind sharing a day with my stepmother. After all, the most reasonable human being I've ever come across is my mother, my biological mother. There are other people who would not want to share their spotlight with anybody. I do believe that my mother, if I had a chance to talk to her, she would approve it. When women started getting IDs in 1979, ANNA KHAVERE registered the ID she took was ANNA KHAVERE. She took an ID where she used the name ANNA KHAVERE. The IDs were modernized, can I say digitalized, in 1995. By then, she had decided to change her name. The reason that she changed her name was that there is a detective called JI-TENGE, a great family friend. A great family friend. He used to castigate ladies like my stepmother for wrong names. He used to say that, for example, my stepmother calling herself Mrs. Huatenge would mean she's calling herself Mrs. Father-in-law. And if that thing is very serious, especially in Luya, imagining that you are being called, a lady being called Mrs. Father-in-law. So that is why in 1995, when IDs were being digitalized, she changed. I don't know which system she used or anything, but when she was surrendering the old ID, it had ANNA KHAVERE Huatenge, but the one which was brought was Mrs. ANNA KHAVERE Lando. I can never explain that the Lando's children that I can never explain why, of all Lando's children, she hated me most. But if you count, if you count the person who has honored her after her death, I have honored her more than all the Lando's children put together. So I can never explain that the Lando's child that she hated most is the one who wants her candle lit many years after her death. But as you will see, I have come to learn a lot about life from her. There are some things she could tell me or she could talk, but after her death, I came to appreciate them. As I grew up, the fact that something is associated with her would be reason enough for me to detest it. And the reverse was the truth. You will forgive me in moving up and down in my narration. Some ideas come up later, and it also comes with age that when you get old, uh, you jump from one idea to another. Another reason is that we people with photographic mind tend to go to the past. And as I talk to you, I forget that you are there. And I start talking about the past as though I am watching a movie about it. So my stepmother, according to me, hated me for 3 good reasons, which I'll tell you. You know, unlike Kikuyu tradition, where a man can have several sons from different women named after his father. Among the Kikuyus, it is quite possible to find more than one boys or even girls, but mostly boys, because girls, when they get married, they change the second name. It is very easy to find two or more boys with 3 names which are similar. And if you find these 3 boys are stepbrothers. So in Kikuyu, let's say every first son of every woman, you give him your father's name. So you find that 3 of them will still have the same name. But in Luya tradition, even stepbrothers are not allowed to share names unless the second one was born after the first one died. I'll explain this by saying you can name a child after somebody very important to you, and then the child dies, but you still love the person that you named the child after. So you get another son or child, and you give the very, very same name. So in Kikuyu, in Luya, finding 2 stepbrothers or even brothers with the same name, the one who was given the first name died before the other one was born. In Luya, the second reason why I believe she hated me is that in Luya traditions, there was no divorce, only separations. So after the separation, the woman stayed in a piece of land that was given to her son. So my stepmother always believed that I will bring back my mother. So she never ever wanted to imagine my my mother staying in the same compound with her. The third reason why she hated me, but then that one was she loved and hated me in equal measures, depending on case by case. The third reason why we had that was my openness. It made her both hate me and love me. When father was wrong, I would diplomatically correct him. None of my siblings ever corrected dad. It pleased her when the correction favored her, and it annoyed her if it didn't. I want to give just 2 examples of what pleased her. One time, dad wanted to talk to us. He looked at her in the eyes and said that he wanted to talk to us, na hiyo sio maneno ya wanawake. So as she was leaving, I told dad immediately, how can you chase away the woman who gave birth to us and confide in us in her absence? Did you know each other before we were born? Of course, she came when I was in Form 2, but it showed my respect to her and women as though she was my biological mother. The argument here was, how can you take a boy born out of your wife and say whatever you're talking, it is something that cannot be discussed before women. It has to be discussed before men. So how can you talk about that to an extent that you trust the child whom your wife gave birth to and say that your wife is not entitled to hear that? Of course, dad was convinced and she participated in that. But my stepmother, the way my stepmother took it, you see, it showed that I was treating her as if she was my biological mother, and that she should also be respected as an elder. Uh, One thing I would say about her was her love for her people. One thing I would say about her was her love for her people. She and when I talk of her people, I'm talking of both the family that she came from and the family that both the family that she was born into and the family that she was buried into. No event, be it a sad event, a happy event, an anniversary, graduation, or anything, she never missed those occasions. And she spent a lot of her money mobilizing people to attend such occasions. You know, families are scattered, especially because of women. You could have your daughter, one is married to the east, another one to the west, another one to the south, another one to the north. So she would use her funds to get those people. For example, if something happened where she came from, she would not even go there. She would start going around where her sisters are married, give them fare, tell them go home, then rush to the other. She'd be the last one after making sure everybody. She was very good in mobilizing people, and she spent a lot of money on it. She could organize from her pocket how relatives from east, west, south, and north would attend. Yet she died childless. As I said above, anything she said, I would oppose. And of course, I would oppose in my heart. I would not answer her face, but in her, and just the fact that she's on this side, it would make me go on the other side. Uh, and I would not show her. One time, she attended a party. That was 1979. She attended a party with my father in the Zairian embassy. And when she came back, she told us that there was a song which we used to sing, Moi, Moi, kiongozi wa Kenya, sisi zote tumeamua. So when she came back, she told us that that song was a Lingala song that had been made into Swahili. And of course, you know, anything she says, I would go the other side. Also bearing in mind that that song had been sung by Congolese when Moi had said that their music should not be aired on the national radio. So I thought that the Congolese had formed it. But many years after she had died, uh, there's this Congolese musician who is called, there is this Congolese musician who is called Papa Wemba. Papa Wemba sang the song, which, thanks to Mfumu Kibangu, who told us that, who taught us, Professor Mfumu Kibangu, who told us that is a traditional song in Congo, of which it used to be sung a long time ago. The Congolese says, Bango, Bango, Wanae. Oh, oh. So that is the song in Lingala. And you see, the that one, the Lingala song came many years after after she had died. Another thing that she told me, and politely I didn't oppose, was that she predicted that Uhuru one day would be the president of Kenya. She said that, and I didn't believe it. Uhuru became the president of Kenya long after she had died. In the year 2002, my father was supporting Uhuru against Kibaki. My stepmother rarely confronted my father eyeball to eyeball and opposed him, except when the couple were having a couple argument. But matters of political, matters of current affairs, whatever my father said used to be law. But in that year, 2002, she not only confronted him, but ordered him. Yes, you had me correct. She ordered him to shift from Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and support Kibaki. I think that my father accepted unconditionally. Immediately after Kibaki had won the election, before Kibaki had been sworn in, she said that Uhuru was a good president. Only that Kibaki was far more better. She then said that in future, Uhuru or a member of the Kenyatta family would be the president. It later came to happen to pass that Uhuru became the president several years after she had died. And this is somebody, an illiterate standard 2. Allow me to say something she told me, and none of the Landos children know. Maybe they'll know from here. She was named after a lady called Khavere. The name Anne, yeah, she was named after a lady who was called Anne Khavere. Anne Khavere was a very close relative to her father. Her father was called Paul Isawane. Now, Anne Khavere was so close, a dear relative to her father, that her father decided, against all odds, to name her daughter after Khavere. Now, which was against Luhya tradition. Luhya tradition, a person without children is never named. So the original Anne Khavere died barren. She died barren. So when my stepfather-in-law, is that the way they call it? When my stepfather-in-law named my stepmother that Anna Khavere, people were against it because he was naming her after a barren woman, and the child who was named after would also be barren. That is why Louis has never named people who are alive or even who are barren. Among Luhya, they say that someone goes to the soil, he is dead, and then a child or she is dead, and then the child who is born later, it is a resurrection of the dead person. But a person who dies without kids can never resurrect. That is what Luhyas believed. So Khavere had no children and so wasn't entitled to be named. About 6 girls were named after her. 5 of them, including my stepmother, never gave birth to a child. The original Khavere nicknamed herself Shinyanyi. She nicknamed herself Shinyanyi, meaning that her intestine usually swallowed her kids before they were born. So Shinyanyi is chewing. Honyanya is chewing. So her intestines would chew her children before they were born. So whenever my stepmother was annoyed, especially when people reminded her of her bareness, I would whisper to her in her ears, Shinyanyi, and her spirits would go high. Meaning that I was telling her she was not to blame for being barren, but it is because of the Luya tradition that she was named after a barren woman. So that one would make her lighten up. One thing she had in common with my biological mother is the power to forgive and forget. The two ladies, both rest in peace, had the ability to forgive. I can authoritatively say that there is nothing as sweet as overcoming an enemy. There is nothing as sweet as overcoming your enemy, and when he is at your mercy, eh, then you, without provocation or without anybody asking you, you pick him or her up and raise him up and say, I forgive you unconditionally. Those two ladies, my biological mother and my stepmother who brought me up, had that ability. I can tell you from experience that that person would forever honor you. Imagine somebody being in a situation where it is so hopeless that it is only you who can forgive him or her. And then without anybody prompting, or even with very little prompting, you forgive that person unconditionally. I can tell you that that person will forever be grateful to you. For my biological mother, that came automatically. For my stepmother, you had to have a sad look, whether genuine or not, but as long as she believed that you are remorseful, she would forgive you unconditionally. And I would tell you, both the ladies, rest in eternal peace. When they forgave you, they forgave you for life. I know of many proud people who would not say sorry or would not show remorse under whatever circumstances. In such a case, my biological mother would forgive, but my stepmother, who brought me up, would not forgive you. You had to show an element of remorsefulness, whether genuine or not, for her to forgive you. One time we had a heated debate, me and my stepmother. We had a very heated debate. I looked at her in by that heated debate came when my mother had already died. I looked her in the face and told her, "Why do you hate me? Yet my mother is dead. You used to think that I would bring back my mother. Now she's dead, uh, and she should not be a threat to you." She turned to me and said, "I hate you because when your father will die, you will mobilize your siblings and chase me away." Let me pause there. In the Luya tradition, it is almost like blasphemy for children to chase away their stepmother after their father has died. Even her brothers in law cannot chase her. So it is unimaginable. But she used to believe that I would organize. And at Luya, we believe that if you do that, you'll be cursed forever. That is one of the biggest curses. You cannot chase away your stepmother after your father has died. Leave alone you. Even your uncles and aunts who are siblings to your father, they cannot chase your stepmother or even your mother. We have cases among lawyers of women who give a hard time, but once their husband dies, she now stays there forever. But then she believed that, and she was saying that she believed that I would organize my siblings to chase her away. She believed that I had a good uh, way of mobilizing that. Uh, then I told her that I will bury. I looked her in the eye and said, "Mom, I'll bury you." She laughed for some time. She laughed some time and then looked at me in the eye and told me, "You mean you have talked to God that I will die ahead of you?" And then I told her, "No, if I'll die ahead of you and my children bury you, will I not be the one who has buried you?" She understood what I was meaning, because in Luya tradition, if my children bury you, it will be taken that it is I who has buried you, even if I died a long time ago. Then when I told her, she laughed. She became very happy, and she almost hugged me. We became friends, but we resumed the hatred the following day. Yes, when she died, I only had my fare from Nairobi to home. And you see, the Luya tradition is that when somebody has died, there is two celebrations which are attended to by the nearest people. The first celebration after burial. The first celebrations happen 3 or 4 days after burial, and the second celebration happens 40 days after burial. I believed that if I were to go back to Nairobi with my financial status then, I would not have fare to come back. So I stayed at home, left my family in Nairobi for 40 days, and after performing the 40th day, I left home for Nairobi with 100 shillings in my pocket. I went to the trading center, asked for how much it was from from home, Luandeti, to Eldoret. I was told it was 100 shillings. I said I had 90 shillings. So I paid, I entered that vehicle and was given a change of 10 shillings. We reached a place called Tarbo. Then there is this thing that they call kuuza watu. We were taken to another bus, but two of us had not been sold. If you are a Kenyan, you understand. I had 10 shillings at Tarbo. But before we arrived there, I had seen a young man whom I believed he was a Christian, and I told him, I'm having a very difficult trip to Nairobi. Pray for me. And then when we reached Tarbo, me and that young man had not been sold. If you are a Kenyan, you understand. You handle matatu. So this young man paid for my fare from Tarbo to Nairobi, from Tarbo to Eldoret. Arriving in Eldoret, I had to spend 4 or 5 days hiking lifts. I had the 10 shillings I had already spent. So I spent around 5 days and 4 nights hiking lifts. Imagine telling somebody that I'm just reaching after 2 to 3 marketplaces, then that is where I'm going. You go that way and then you stand on the road, ask for a lift that way, until I reached Nakuru. Reaching Nakuru, I met a former police officer who told me, Afande Kuja, he was drunk. Let us go and have alcohol. I said, no, I don't drink. He said, I remember seeing in the newspaper where you said, nowadays you don't take alcohol. So let us drink. I said, I've stayed for 4 days without bathing. Can I bathe? I bathed and I had a proper meal. But since my friend was drunk and he gave me the fare to Nairobi, he gave me a lot of money. I felt that leaving him while he was drunk, anything could happen with him, and I would never live. I will always live to regret. So what I did was I stayed with him while he was drinking alcohol, and me, I was just there. We went to his house around 3 a.m. We slept, and the following day, I went to my house with half a sack of potatoes. The money that he had given me, I bought a lot of potatoes and entered a matatu. Uh, Khavere Shinyanyi, I did that for you. And even when I was traveling for the 4 to 5 days, it was 4 days, it was 5 days, 4 nights. I did it for you. Um, we love you. I love you. And my children love you.